So I don't really have a problem with this show overall, but I think its constant need to create higher and higher and higher stakes put it in a bad position sometimes.
Oh, for sure. And that is a reoccurring theme with this show. That's why I said even early on in our episodes, like, there's a lot of things that you could say about this show without resorting to...
Everybody cries so much.
Yeah, there's a lot you could say about this show without resorting to nonsense like that. Because ultimately, this show, I mean, all of them really, are about people in extraordinary situations. And the fact that this is the first time that that's really been a thing that you see on screen with the crying and the emotions and all that is actually pretty damn surprising, considering all the stuff that they go through all the time.
Mm-hmm. No, look, you remember that episode of The Next Generation where Picard is stuck in that elevator with a bunch of little kids?
Oh, yeah. Super uncomfortable for that guy.
If I was Picard, I would have been crying. I mean, get me out of here. I don't like children. You know what I mean? You can't blame a guy for that.
Yeah, but this show definitely does show that a lot more. It shows the emotion of the crew a lot more than other previous ones have.
Oh, sure. And again, that's because they're going for like prestige storytelling here. More emotional interplay between characters. It's not just, three swinging dicks beaming down to a planet and punching stuff, Which
actually makes me wonder exactly how Strange New Worlds is going to be, because that's supposed to go back to the Planet of the Week format, which I think would be a welcome distinction between Discovery and it.
Oh, I agree. A handful of years back, I used to really enjoy the shows that were putting in an effort, doing the shorter seasons, but more consistent story arc. A lot more continuity between episodes, or a one story over the whole season. But one of the things I have noticed that I can still throw on an episode of Star Trek or The Next Generation, and it doesn't matter where it's from in the series. Anybody could watch that episode. And we're kind of past that now to the point where the idea of episodics, a Planet of the Week, 45-minute story is kind of novel now.
Well, I cannot imagine that there will not be some larger arc that they're dealing with, whether it be character development or just a overarching storyline. I kind of want to compare it to Battlestar, but I don't think I can make that comparison because that's still a show where there's a handful of episodes you could watch on their own, but if you watched it 2 out of sync, it would be an issue.
No, and they said they're going to have character arcs and overreaching points, and some things are going to be left in there. But, Next Gen had that to a certain degree.
Yeah, but like you said, though, the arcs were so, I don't want to say not important, because they obviously were, but, like, if you watched an episode from season 1 and then watched an episode from season 6, I can't imagine it's going to feel super, super different. Like, I don't feel like you would imagine that you have missed much, just because even when they did have those character arcs, at the end of the day, it seemed like they didn't matter a whole lot.
No, overall they wouldn't. And anytime they would bring it back up, they'd be like, as you know, Worf, your wife was killed by, They had a lot of as you know speak in that show, catching you back up to your own life's events.
So it'll be interesting to see how they do a new take on the Planet of the Week format, I guess, is what I'm interested most in seeing.
Yeah, no, I think that'll be interesting to see how they kind of tie all that together.
Because I don't think it'll be as episodic as like the original series, and like you even said, The Next Generation to a lesser extent. I don't think it'll be like that, but I don't think it'll be like Discovery where every episode is part of that story driving it forward every time.
No, and a part of that too is that the original Star Trek was meant to be sold into syndication. That was kind of Desilu's like design that they were trying to do, was pump out stuff that they could sell into syndication after 4 or 5 years that would make them money forever. So it was designed with syndicated storytelling in mind, even to the point where, like, I believe O'Reilly was killed in a season 3 episode, and yet he was back in the next episode. And then, of course, Next Generation was designed for syndication, period. It was designed for first-run syndication and to maintain in syndication after that point.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think as you get later, like you get deeper into the Next Generation, maybe the arcs do tend to matter more. But at least in those early seasons, it really doesn't matter how you watch them.
No, it really doesn't. And honestly, you can put on an episode from season, as long as it's not a 2-parter. You can put on an episode from season 3 or 6 or 5. It doesn't matter. You can get in and watch. Which I think, is kind of novel nowadays because, when I want to put something on and I just need background noise, I'm not going to go to a 10-episode mega arc from a TV show.
Yeah, for me, mine is, we talked about this before, but like stuff like Superstore or The Office or Parks and Rec, something like that where, I mean, to be fair, there are character arcs in The Office, but it doesn't really matter where I watch it. I've watched it so much.
Oh yeah, one of my favorite shows is a half-hour comedy out of Canada called Corner Gas that was specifically written so you could watch it in any order, even though there were little character bits that we picked back up here and there, but it was really meant just like it doesn't matter, you just watch it in whatever order you want. Let's go ahead and figure out where we are in Act 4.
We're moving into Act 4 now.
Burnham regains consciousness, a piece of superheated shrapnel stuck in her leg. As she looks up, she sees an angelic figure in the flames.
The Wasp. That's what I kept thinking every time the angels kept coming. I was like, man, that just looks like the Wasp.
It has a very similar style. It also has like the wings and stuff remind me of like Bubblegum Crisis, some like 90s manga, Then after a moment, the figure is replaced by Pike, who came back to rescue Burnham. Beaming back to Discovery, Burnham grabs onto a sample from the asteroid, but the rock fails to transport with her. And anxious Tilly visits Burnham in sickbay, where Burnham explains, man, they sure use her name a lot the way they write this, where Burnham explains what happened with the rock, which means that, now that's the movie with Sean Connery, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good movie.
Yeah, it was. Did you know that's actually supposed to be a secret James Bond movie?
Well, I mean, Sean Connery's up in there, so.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the idea, is that he's playing an unnamed Bond in that movie. Which means the asteroid is not entirely made up of baryonic matter, which could explain the gravitational energy. Burnham shows Tilly a projection of the closest pieces of debris they could capture. Tilly sets up a gravity simulator in the shuttle bay. With his mission complete, Pike turns the bridge over to Saru, who orders Detmer to keep the asteroid fragment in Discovery's wake. The fragment impacts hard inside the bay, but is captured by the gravity simulator, at which point Saru orders the ship to withdraw. Oh, in the ready room, Pike, now wearing a Starfleet uniform similar to that of the Discovery crew, meets with Burnham, explaining that the Enterprise will require more repairs and that he and Saru have joint custody of the ship. As they walk through the decks, Burnham admits that she is the reason she and Spock do not speak, and says that she would like to go over to the Enterprise to see him. Pike lets her know that he's not over there. He's on a leave.